In a world of seemingly endless podcasts comes what many would call another one. Welcome to the Two Men podcast with your hosts Tim Matson and Phil Powell. Now please join these two confirmed men, that's two moderately entertaining nerds, as they take you on another podcast adventure that's guaranteed to be funny. Or not. This week the two men welcome satirist and man about town, Matt Cravey.
Welcome to another episode of the Two Men podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tim.
And I am Matt. I'm subbing for Phil. Evidently, the 45 minutes a week was getting a bit much for him. He had to take some time to spend with his family.
He is getting up there in years. You know, you got to get him a little rest now and again.
Well, Tim, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I've always wanted to do a podcast, and I'm looking forward to it. This is like a men's health thing, right?
Sort of, yeah. Mental health, maybe.
Oh, I see.
I hope that you've adjusted your expectations to a low enough level.
Well, we'll see.
I'm talking like maybe Batman versus Superman level of expectations low. That's what we're dealing with.
All right. Well, showing up is the first part, and I passed the drug screen. So
that is true.
For me.
And you signed all the paperwork, right?
What do you do with all those jars of urine? Because that is a lot.
It's purely decorative.
Okay,
it's
the way the sunlight dances through it is.
With that, on that note, let's just get right into the topic of the week. And this week, this is the cheating episode because I am cheating on Phil with Matt.
Oh my God! That just added a whole new level to this.
You weren't prepared for that. Were you?
You know what? I'm going to go with it. It's fun. It's cool. Yeah, Phil is a mutual friend of ours.
Yes.
You want to tell him how we met, or
go ahead?
Okay.
This is you're the guest.
Oh, right.
Can I rub your feet while you're doing this?
Please
rub your back.
Oh, that. Damn, that is really. You've had practice. You really have worked this out. So, Tim and I actually met on the set of The Odd Couple, which Phil was directing, Neil Simon play. I was obsessed with it in high school.
Were you?
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Now, are you more of a Cluckman and Randall, or are you Lemon and Mathau?
It's Lemon and Mathau.
Okay.
Yeah, not the TV. And I did it in high school. We did a presentation of it in high school, and it was like for a theater conference. And so we did the poker scene, and it was 5 of us, and we practiced. We were cheap. We were high school kids. We had practiced with the same bag of potato chips, and you can see where this is going. And so it finally comes around to the time where we never actually ripped the bag because then we'd have to buy a second bag of potato chips. But we come to the actual performance, and there's judges there, and this is serious, and we've been waiting there. And he says, and I said, "Don't come to my house and eat my potato chips." And we ripped the bag, and just like atomic-sized particles of potato chips go everywhere, and we just lose it. Like Jimmy Fallon on SNL, not one of us can keep a straight face, except for the guy playing Vinny. He's there. He's got like chips stuck to his face, and he's still just casually drinking.
It's great.
I am mortified now for teenage me. We got in a good deal of trouble for just being so unprofessional, high school student.
I don't know that that's unprofessional at all. When I did, I played Murray, which was what you played this last time. I played Murray back in the day at the Barn Dinner Theater, and there's a scene, the sandwich scene, where Vinny's like, "Oh, try the sandwich. I like the sandwich. Hey, you want the pickle?" And Wilson Kane, a good buddy of mine, actor extraordinaire, playing Oscar, slapped the plate with the pickle and sent it flying out into the audience. And we had kind of established that this was like an apartment high up in a New York apartment building.
Oh, yeah.
And so, of course, he just leaned out the window to look and see where the pickle went. And then as the play went on, some nice lady kindly, quietly just set the pickle up on the stage for us. It was very nice.
Nice.
Well, of course, it was like Tim Conway and Harvey Korman on the Carol Burnett show. We were all giggling and cackling and trying to keep it together. So
we had our Murray, when I was Oscar in high school, our Murray would deliberately he was just one of those guys that just would deliberately sabotage it. And we hated him. But he had the linguine and hid it on stage. Hid it under some... Yes.
That's mean.
Hid it under some newspapers on the couch where he knew I was going to sit. And so I sit, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I sat in a giant plate of linguine. And so, like, the card that I got from a friend is like, "Hey, nice show, linguine butt."
And with that, a legend was born.
Oh, gosh. I remember when I auditioned, we're friends now, at least in the modern sense of Facebook friends. So I kind of add things. I think I even wrote, I think the guy who looks like young William Gaines is going to get Oscar.
Oh, my God.
You had did you have a beard when you auditioned too?
Gosh, you know what? I get lazy now and again. I just stop shaving. So there's really no rhyme or reason to my facial hair. It comes and goes. So I'm not sure. I know I did have long hair at the time.
Oh, yeah. That was definitely...
There was definitely some long, curly hair.
Because I think Phil's...
flowing locks.
One of his caveats before everybody left was, so, not directed at anybody in particular, but would you be willing to get a haircut if you were cast in the show? As
he not so subtly stared in my direction.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was aimed at you.
I think that's probably true. Phil, like you talked about, is a good friend of ours. He's my partner in crime here on the podcast, but now and again, I like to spice it up and mix it up with a new partner, and that's why you're here today.
Well, he's my partner in crime as well. He and I have been calling roller derby.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, he's got a double life here.
I know. Well, that's part of the way. I wanted to sample you to see how it worked out. To see if maybe I could convince you to come over and choose me instead of Phil. I'm vying for your affections.
Oh, well, no, okay. Impress me. Come on. Let's see what
that's my A game right there.
Okay. Well, that's reasonable.
Lame. So you call roller derby?
I do. A couple of years ago, I saw my friend Cam skating with Camel City Thrashers, and she said, we definitely need somebody to MC next month's bout. And so I said, yeah, I will, of course. I didn't know anything about roller derby, but I got a month. I can watch the videos and learn.
There's Wikipedia.
And man, I studied and watched roller derby and listened and was terrified the whole first time. And they asked me to do it again and asked me to do it again. And then that team folded, and a couple years passed. Another team has asked me, the local Greensboro team.
Now, what are they called?
There are actually four teams. There's the Elm Street Nightmare.
Wow.
Madison Dollies or something.
Mm-hmm.
Dolly Madison.
Oh, yeah, nice. That's clever.
Now, see, you put me on the pressure. And
I have.
I don't know. I usually have a sheet of paper with it. There's literally, I think there's 3 teams and then 2 travel teams.
Okay.
And then they'll have teams come. And so they do double headers. That's a long damn time to talk.
Now, how long is a match? Isn't it called a match?
About.
About?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had somebody very clearly, this is such a learning experience when you're first doing something.
I'm learning new things now,
I had a person pull me aside and say, listen, it's roller girls who derby, and they're all called bouts. And I'm like, okay, that's
roller girls who
derby. And I have taken that to heart. But anyway,
did this guy have like a knife or anything? It sounds very sinister.
No, it was a woman. And,
okay.
Which was even more threatening. Sure. Yeah, for sure. You I am the guy in a room, not the only guy, but I definitely respect what they do, and I want the show to be about them more than me.
I kind of feel like you're afraid they could beat you up.
No question about that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. And they all have the funny names like Cam and Get It, and
nice
Smoke 'em, and Pants is one of them, and
Pants, just Pants.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep it simple.
Yeah, no,
sure.
3 hours is a long time to talk, and I know Phil has that whole improv-y, yes and
right.
And so I figured he may not know anything about it, but he'll put in the work and he'll show up and he'll.
Listen, not knowing about something has never stopped Phil Powell from talking about something.
That is true. He was so puzzled. Like we went to our first practice, and we were in the parking lot. And he's like, oh, he's watched it for an hour, and he how he kind of purses and just kind of holds his. Now I don't understand why you would call off the jam.
It's eerie. That's just like Phil's in the room.
I know. That's the thing. Like if I were doing this. And this, I'm still not 100% sure he knows why they call up the jam.
What is the jam?
The jam is the scoring session. So in roller derby, you have 5 blockers and 2 jammers. They start at the back of the pack.
Okay.
Whichever one comes to there's 2 teams. Whichever jammer manages to push their way to the front of the pack, they become the lead jammer, and they are in control of each particular jam.
Okay.
And they get points for passing members of the other team. So the jam could go on for 2 minutes or until I'm chopping at my crotch now.
Oh, that looks uncomfortable.
The fourth crotch chop means the lead jammer has called the jam off.
Who's doing the hacking? Who's doing that?
That's the lead jammer. They're
okay.
Like the first woman to push their way to the front of the pack.
Right.
They're in control of that jam.
And she can call it off by making that motion.
By making you know what? Phil can explain this to
I
you
bet he probably could.
It's so weird. I had to go through so many security checkpoints to get into the compound here.
We like to keep out the riffraff.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
We can't really let the fans interrupt the podcast.
Oh, you can see him out the window.
Now, funnily enough, they're all Chinese.
Oh,
yeah.
And this is international. Will I be able to plug my show because we're international?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to. I don't want to disappoint the Chinese contingency if they're not going to be able to come to my trivia show in a couple weeks here.
Yeah, you're a busy guy. I mean, you do a lot of things, and you are really quite famous because you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, contributed to the Trivial Pursuit.
I did.
Latest edition. Didn't you?
I did. It was it's slightly naughty version.
Oh, I like it already.
Yeah, and it has a little hand stamper in it, and if you mess up, you're supposed to stamp it on your forehead. It's wacky. The kids love it. What was interesting though is when the editor would say, "We want this to be edgy." Well,
how edgy do you want to be?
The definition of edgy is quite different. There were some things that I looked up that I didn't know, and she's like, "No, that's too much." And
that's Cards Against Humanity level.
Yeah. They had some like sounding. You familiar with sounding?
Isn't that where whales come to the surface and like?
You know what?
No,
I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Yeah,
tonight, right before you go to, Google sounding or YouTube. I'm pretty sure there's no YouTube videos.
So it'll ruin any preconceived notions I have about whales.
Or maybe before you eat.
Okay,
I'm done.
Sounding. Listeners, I will do that after we're off the air here and find out whether or not I'm disgusted or horrified or what. But
well, the people at Trivial Pursuit did not want a question.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to share the question that you did actually?
When they ask you for questions, I wrote probably like 200 questions.
Oh, wow.
And so I can't even, I have it at home and they're all kind of shuffled together. And so occasionally I'll be reading something and I'll be like, oh yeah, that came out of my brain. Cool. And I, got to write little jokes and things on the back,
Fun.
which was neat. I wrote for another game. It's not out yet. It may never come out but I can't say what it is, but it's
not one of those fly-by-night operations.
No, this is
legit.
This is a legit. If I said the name of the company, and I don't know now that we're international.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, we don't want to violate any kind of international trade agreements or anything
heavens,
like that.
no.
So, in addition to Roller Girls Who Derby,
yes,
you also do another female centered competition, the Greensboro Arm Wrestling League. What is the name of the league?
Grawl. Greensboro Arm Wrestling League. Yes.
Okay.
That's this thing I got involved in. God,
how did that happen?
The other guy couldn't do it.
Well, that's nice. It's great to be second choice.
Yes, woohoo! Default. Yeah.
Let's ask Matt. He's not doing anything.
Yeah, he's writing his little silly questions. Two really cool things that have come out. First off, it was written up in the local paper, and they referred to me as a satirist.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
I feel like I'm in the presence of royalty.
Well, it went on my LinkedIn that very afternoon.
Alleged satirist.
Satirist. And then I got to do. We did an exhibition match at the Comic-Con at the comic book convention in Durham, and DMC from Run DMC
came, kidding.
and he was on stage. I was on stage with DMC. He and I were sharing a mic.
That's not small change.
No, it's pretty cool.
You've gone up in my eyes just with that.
Yeah, it's like being the world's tallest midget. I mean, it really. Oh, my wife is actually going to be arm wrestling this time.
No kidding.
Yes.
Now is she practicing on you?
I have not arm wrestled. This is actually a confession because I am so terrified of getting beaten.
That's a really unique experience, too. It's one I have not partaken in, but I need to come out and see it.
Well, it's October. My wife is going to be, she's just got a steampunk costume she's working on now.
So may I ask, what is her wrestling nom de plume?
She does not have one yet. I actually sent her a list of all of these. She's got to create a character. I got to tell you, though, the funniest one that we had, and I have a refrigerator magnet. God, I hope it's still. We had Superhero Week, and we had Xena, Warrior Princess, and each of our wrestlers has an entourage, and they sell swag during the night and cheer and all. So Xena had a couple of Gabrielles, and then another woman dressed in a flannel with a white shirt and with a hat that said lesbian subtext. And lesbian subtext became like this huge crowd favorite. She was one of our other wrestlers.
Greensboro is a surprisingly hip town now. I mean, it's really come along with some neat new things.
Hip,
I think. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's high praise.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, it's hitting for the nerdy people. The geeks have inherited the earth, and I think it kind of shows it. So yes, you have a kids. Are they nerdy?
They're fairly nerdy. Yeah, I have a daughter and a son, and they both are. I think I would actually call them more otaku than nerds because they're obsessive about very specific things.
Wow.
Yeah, Christian is very much into video games. He loves gaming and all things like that. Sam's much more of an artist, so she does a lot of drawing and such, and she's really good at it. But yeah, they do appreciate nerdy things like Doctor Who and Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica and all that stuff.
So is there anything you've tried to sell them on that you're like, yes, I know they're going to love this, and this is something I loved as a kid, and you try and push it on them? And
oh gosh, probably. Like we watched not too long ago a film that I thought would be really fun and funny, which was Lethal Weapon, and it went over like a lead balloon. I mean, it was not, and even I'm sitting there watching this going, I am bored to tears right now. When is this damn thing over?
Yeah, isn't that guy who was arrested and yelled about the Jews? This isn't funny. This is just icky.
That and Running Scared. Do you remember that?
Is it Gregory Hines?
Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal.
Huh.
That movie is dull as watching toast being made.
Really?
It is dull.
I mean, like, are we talking about rye or?
Maybe rye, because it does kind of dry.
Okay.
A little brittle. So, it just was not that good. So, yeah, there are definitely movies. I mean, we're sitting in my movie theater. Mm-hmm. It's my palace to my obsession with film. And more often than not, that's where I fall short is films.
Yeah.
Films that I like that they just do not like.
You know, the thing that I brought up and I loved and just was Mystery Science Theater 3000. And this actually this has a happy ending. Not your kind of happy ending.
Wait a minute.
So when I was a kid, Mystery Science Theater 3000 came on, and we didn't have cable. So when I'd go to my grandparents for Thanksgiving, I'd bring a VHS tape and just annoy the shit out of everybody in the family because I'm taping them all day long. They're like, can we watch the football? No, just let me finish this one episode. And then I come home, my friends and I, we would obsessively watch all of them and memorize them and learn the lines and, say like Haikipa and all these, Mitchell and all these.
Mitchell!
All of these lines. So I was super stoked when he got old enough to watch it. And when we started watching it, it's like, we'd watch it and they'd make a joke. It's like, okay, they're talking about MASH there. Okay, MASH was a TV show for like.
It doesn't really work if you have to explain it.
Yeah, they're talking about Carol Burnett there. That's a reference to, and it just, it really killed it. And I mean, he sort of enjoyed it, not quite as much, and even going back and revisiting it, I didn't care. But then when they brought it back on Netflix, man, each of those little pop culture references, it hits right in his wheelhouse.
Well, yeah, as long as it's current references, they're going to get it. But yeah, you're right. The vintage Joel episodes and Mike episodes they're really hit and miss. Yeah. Especially, even for us now, I think, going back and watching them, I think they are a lot more hit and miss than we would really like to let on.
Well, it was at the time, too. You got, it was like, oh, here, they're making fun of Ernest badness and how about that, that's what we nerds do, that's our thing. Yep. And that was a secret special kind of high holy thing. Now that's like 60% of the internet.
It really is.
Yeah. It was like go on Reddit and that's making fun of everybody loves Raymond. So the thing my boy is into, and this is kind of, I guess, opposite of not necessarily, but it's the thing he's sort of obsessed with. A couple years ago I had surgery. and I knew I was going to be down for.
This is going to be a weird story.
Yeah,
isn't it?
here, you put your finger right here. Now, hold on. Yeah, did you feel that?
I felt
you
that.
Felt
what
that?
is
Yeah,
that?
No. I knew I was going to be on my back for a while, and so I was thinking, what do I do to recover? I want something that's mindless, but I remembered how much I enjoyed watching like Mary Tyler Moore with my grandmother, watching Cheers, watching Golden Girls, and Seinfeld with my parents. I want to find a show that I can sit and watch with my son. I was like, well, these are too edgy. Golden Girls was not appropriate for children.
Go figure.
So much old lady sex in that. So much old lady sex. But came across Parks and Rec, and we watched every single episode of Parks and Rec, and we caught up to modern. And after that, he became like comedy nerd. Like
really?
Yes, he is so. So then he watched Arrested Development and Community, and he is now at the point like if we're watching a movie and he hears a voice, he'll that's Aziz Ansari. He'll recognize voices on Adventure Time or that's David Cross or
that's pretty quality.
Yeah, no. So that's kind of his thing that he's obsessed with now, and he watches the heck out of comedy.
Now, is he interested in more like classic stand-up comedy or that kind of thing, or is he more like comedy writing in TV shows?
I think the comedy now is more refined, and and again, it's that taste. Like I've gone back and I've played some of them, but they just don't work as well. Like Bill Cosby records. That was the thing when I was a kid. I remember. I remember the week my parents came home from garage sales. We had like 5 Bill Cosby records, and I memorized every single one of them. My friend Little Matt, all of my friends named Matt, defaulted to Little Matt.
Little Matt,
and he and I would come over and just laugh till we cried. And I put it on for him, and he's like,
Funny. Now, for me, I was always a George Carlin fan. I loved George Carlin, his use of language, his analysis of the way we talk and the phrases we use and what they mean. I thought it was brilliant. And so I was lucky enough to see him before he passed away. I saw him in Las Vegas to do a show. And his show was so disappointing because he was so angry and bitter. Yeah. And I know he has always had that edge, crusty edge to him, but it was just, it wasn't fun. He was just too angry to be funny to me. And I don't know, that was a little bit of a disappointment to me.
Well, the boys' favorite is Patton Oswalt. Yeah. And so if when he did the filibuster scene in Parks and Rec, I don't know if you've seen
it's a classic. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I've watched it a number of times.
It
actually
is hysterical. And then anytime or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when he shows up, and there's so many like funny things. But man, his stand up, you just can't watch.
Really? That new one, Talking for Clapping?
He's had quite a few stand-up specials. Yeah. And so I'll have to go through and glean because he really goes deep into the darkness. The language is one thing, but it's just that real darkness. I'm like, I don't want my child to go this dark so quick.
That's for me, that's Louis C.K.
Yes.
Is the thing. I mean, he's widely beloved as a comedian and someone who writes great material. I just find him really dark and not that entertaining to me, but that's just my taste. My taste is different. I prefer other comedians. I like the latest Dave Chappelle stuff that he did for Netflix. It was really quality. I liked it a lot. It was really funny.
I had not seen that yet.
I would recommend it.
Well, but that same the idea of darkness and nerd and when Deadpool came out. My son wanted to see Deadpool so bad. He was, Dad, I will kill someone. Just let me.
How old is your son?
He just turned 12.
Okay,
just turned 12. I refer to him as the boy.
The boy.
And
that's what I call mine too.
Yeah. Well, it was a deliberate thing too because I don't know how long like online stuff is going to last, and so if he's going to want to be referred to as something, like all of our childhood things will still be around.
That's true.
And so he's referred to as the boy online generally. But anyway, Deadpool. He really wanted to see Deadpool. My wife saw it. It was a couple years ago. She's like, no way. Can't. And I finally turned a corner when he hit middle school. I'm like, he can watch pretty. I'm not going to be there every moment.
Yeah.
Somewhere he has friends who have older brothers, and they've seen things, and if he's going to see this, I want to see it with him so I can kind of deprogram him afterwards. And it wasn't so much the language, or it was the darkness. There's a scene where they joke about being molested as children.
Yes, yeah.
And it's played really well, and I think it works, and it's not punching down, and I mean, but there are enough cynical kids who like go to that sort of darkness immediately for the sense of humor. Just play Halo online. Or
no, thank you.
No,
that's a cesspool.
Yeah,
I have no intention of doing that.
I really did not want him to get the idea that this is something you can joke about right away.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fine. I think really for comedy, nothing is really off limits.
Sure,
not it really shouldn't be, but there's a time and a place, and like you say, you don't go for the jugular right off. I don't think. I think you got to work for it.
Oddly enough, 13-year-old boys not known for their wisdom and discernment when it comes to funny. Yeah, I know that was that was a study in Duh magazine. Yeah, but one night, my wife.
If that is not an actual publication, it really should be.
Should check it. They got really good articles.
The Weekly Duh.
So my wife was in bed, and the boy was up, and he came in the room. Let's watch a movie, buddy. And I turned on Deadpool, and he sits there, and he's watching the opening credits, and he looks at me, he looks at the screen, he looks, and this like big like, here, have all the cake you can eat now.
Yeah,
you know. It's like, is this really Deadpool? I'm like, yes. Does Mom know? She will.
She'll know.
Yeah, it's okay. And so after the scenes, I said, okay, this is why I didn't want you to see it. It's this particular thing, and this is why. And it was actually good, Here, instead of seeing it with his friends who were like, hey, did you see that? He actually got to kind of deprogram. It's like, this is not a thing you joke about because you don't know who's had what. And, so, but that was a huge.
Now, have you ever made a huge mistake, like letting him watch something that you probably should not have?
Let's see. Let me go down to things I replay in my head at 3 a.m. Reasons. We've started his therapy budget.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, you might as well put away money for that. He's going to need it.
I'll tell you the mistake that immediately popped, and I even have it written down here. I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's what I'm here for.
My nerdy obsession has always been theme parks, roller coasters, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was little tiny, I don't even remember how old. My cousin worked at Disney. He let us in for the day, and it was just the boy and I, and I used to go to Disney all the time. I'm from Florida, and so I knew where everything was, and I knew kind of what he could ride. And I said, okay, for everything, this ride, if you ride them without crying or making a big deal, I will buy you a Matchbox car. And they have these really cool Star Wars Matchbox cars. And so we go to ride the Tower of Terror.
I would be willing to be bribed like that. If you want to take me next time, you can buy me a Matchbox car.
Yeah, the stakes have gone up now.
Yeah.
So we go to ride the Tower of Terror. I don't know if you've been there, if you're familiar with it.
I am familiar with it,
It's a free fall ride. And I said, okay, I'm not trying to scare him. I'm trying to make him like this thing that I really like. And
sure.
I said, okay, so we're going to go in. It's going to be dark, and then it'll go up, and then we'll come forward, and then we'll go up and down and up. And even if you're scared, it's only going to be a few seconds. You're going to be fine. And so we go through, and the ghosts pop out, and we go through, and the light comes down, and all of a sudden it drops. And drops, and then we go up to the top. And when we go up to the top, they open the doors so it's no longer dark, and I can look over and I see my son, my seed, my precious child next to me is completely rigor mortis, and both arms and legs are flailing. And I'm thinking immediately, I'm looking and I'm like, he's either having a seizure or urinated on himself, and there is absolutely. You can't do anything about it for the next 45 seconds, you jackass. You're going to have to just sit there and watch your child either seize or soak in urine for the next 45. And so we get down to the bottom, and he's still shaking, and he finally calms down. He goes, can we go get that car now?
He earned that car.
Oh, he earned
that car.
Like, I don't even think, hey, buddy, you want to go to Disney? No, never.
No. You know, what's really funny, when I was a little kid, I was terrified of the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea movie, the squid thing and all that.
Oh, yeah,
I was absolutely terrified. So when we went to Disneyland, we were doing the various rides, and we got the book of tickets. See, it used to be a book of tickets with little labels on them for each ride that they would get punched. And so we were in line for this ride. I wasn't sure what ride we were going on. I was fairly little, but I looked at the ticket and I could read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and I freaked right the heck out. I mean, literally, we weren't even on the ride yet, and I was like, no, and crying and dad embarrassed mom and dad to death because we were not, in fact, in line for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. We were, in fact, in line for It's a Small World.
So, survival instinct kicking in there.
It really was. That was the height of my embarrassment as a child. I was the only child in history that ever cried because they were going to go see It's a Small World, probably. Yeah. So that's my claim to fame, and I own that.
I have very similar stories that my sister and brother-in-law like to remind me of.
Isn't it great to have people that can remind you of these stupid things?
Oh, yeah. The pirates, there's like claw marks still on the ground. What the hell are these finger marks in the concrete? That's Cravey. It's a memorial thing. We're leaving it.
I like it. Well, I think on that note of horrifying things from our childhood, we should probably bring this to a close. So I just want to thank you for sitting in with me.
It's been an honor. When do we do the MailChimp advertisement? Is that?
Yeah, I think that is contractually obligated. If you're doing a podcast, you have to plug MailChimp.
Or MeUndies.
MeUndies.
Podcast listeners mail a lot of stuff.
Apparently. Evidently not our listeners because we haven't got a sponsorship yet. So on that note, thanks for being with us. My name's Tim.
And I am Matt.
And we'll see you next time. Bye. It's time for another instance of instant opinion. I get tongue-tied just a little bit. So we're going to come up with, as usual, 10 words or phrases. Matt is, and I'm going to have to come up with an instant opinion about them. Are you ready, Matt?
Oh, I am. I have my list right here.
Excellent. Start with the first one.
The new Doctor Who.
The new Doctor Who. I'm pro the new Doctor Who. She looks very attractive, and I think she could probably kick some behind.
Okay, you've just pissed off all of the...
I know.
Because literally the first words out of your mouth was how attractive she is.
Yeah, I know. I am a male pig, apparently. We'll just have to let that stand because the time is up.
I'm sorry to interrupt you on that.
No, you were... Okay.
You ready for the next one?
I'm not sure if I'm ready or not.
Burnt meat.
Burnt meat. A lot of people would say that I'm quite fond of burnt meat because I order all my steaks well done. To the abject horror of my children, they absolutely like theirs still on the hoof, as they say. If they could eat a cow standing up, I think they probably would. That's how I feel about burnt meat.
All right. I was going to go with nobody likes burnt meat, but that's...
No, I like burnt meat.
Okay. Next one. Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne. I think Lil Wayne sounds adorable. It sounds like he should be starring in a Nickelodeon show for children. You know, Lil Wayne and his friends. They go around getting in misadventures around. As you can tell, I know very little about Lil Wayne.
But actually, you were right on the money on that. That was an incredible guess. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Next one. Palak Paneer.
Palak Paneer. That is clearly some new type of exercise similar to Pilates. Mm-hmm. That is when you pop and lock while you're doing it. You Palak. What was it?
Palak Paneer.
Palak Paneer. That's where you Palak before you paneer.
Or a Indian dish with spinach and cubes of cheese, which is delicious.
Is it?
It is.
I'll take your word for it.
Yes. Next, Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Peter, Paul, and Mary. A very underrated threesome. A threesome for old people. I like Peter, Paul, and Mary. Didn't they do Puff the Magic Dragon?
Yes.
Oh, then I love Peter, Paul, and Mary because that was a staple of my childhood. Yes. Danny Paper. I could talk about it. Jackie Paper, Danny Paper, whatever. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, no, you were a lot of Puff in
I got a lot of Puff in that, yeah.
All right, next one, Sharknado 5.
Sharknado 5. I really don't have much of an opinion about this because I am not well-versed in Sharknado lore, Having said that, I have seen Sharknado 3, I think. They're absolutely delirious. I don't know who approved this, but they're doing the Lord's work as far as I'm concerned.
It's funny you say that. The new one just came out, and Fabio plays the Pope.
Fabio is the Pope?
Yes. I haven't seen it yet.
I'm on board for this.
Yeah, no, it should be good. Next one, Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Choose Your Own Adventure books. I sometimes think like I'm in a Choose My Own Adventure books, although there are far fewer pirates and ninjas in my life than I would like. I love Choose Your Own Adventure books. I think it's great because it's like D&D for lonely kids.
The saddest thing so far on a show full of sad things.
That is really true. I mean, you got your own little DM. It's the book. You can tell I did this. I had no friends as a child. It's really sad.
I want to like buy you a stuffed animal now. Jeez.
I like that.
Next one, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. It's one of the strangest sex positions you can do. I feel like that is illegal in several of the states. I think if you're caught doing Mr. Toad's Wild Ride with anyone that is not your spouse, you can go to jail.
In Randolph County, that is correct. Next, Hamilton.
Hamilton. Hamilton is, I think, the first Broadway musical ever made.
That's true.
It's true. I mean, it's the very first one that of any note, as far as I can tell, except for Dear Evan Hansen, apparently. So if you like Broadway, you have to like both of those musicals.
Okay, very good. I also would have accepted Hamilton Lakes Pool.
Okay, very good. And I did not start the timer, so we'll call that one done.
Yeah, no. And finally, Pandemic Chapter 2.
Pandemic Chapter 2. Oh my God, I can't spend just 15 seconds talking about this. That is one of the greatest games I've ever played with Season 1. I had such a great time with it. I hope that Season 2 is as good or better. And there were so many twists and turns in that board game. It was so much fun. I can't wait to play it.
Oh, yeah. We had one of our diseases was named HB2.
Nice. Nice. I forget what we named ours, but yeah, it was great.
Oh, man. All right, well, I think, let me count it up. Yeah, you won.
Did I win?
You won.
Excellent. I chose the right page to turn to in my book.
Yeah.
Yay!
You turn into a being of luminous light and get
Yeah. Well, I don't know. And with that, you have wasted yet another half hour of your life away with the Two Men of the Two Men podcast. Thank you for tuning in every week. And just before we go, I'd like to have Matt plug what you're working on coming up.
I am. Geeksboro, August 22nd. That's a Tuesday night at 8:30. I am hosting trivia. And then October 21st is Grawl. That is women's arm wrestling. We're going to be raising money for charity. You come out and see my wife arm wrestle as a steampunk character. That's at Geeksboro on Lawndale in Greensboro, North Carolina.
If you're anywhere near Greensboro, you really should come because both of those things are going to be a great time. And with that, I have been your host, Tim.
I am Matt.
Please tune in again next week when we'll be equally as moderately entertaining as we have been this week. We appreciate you for listening, and if you enjoy your time with us, please tell a friend. Bye.
Bye. Catch on down the trail.
Greetings. I am Alice, highly paid digital assistant to the two moderately entertaining nerds of the Two Men podcast. Want to let us know what you thought of the show? Have a topic you'd like to hear discussed? Feel like demanding your money back? We'd love to hear from you on 2 out of those 3 questions. Drop us an email at twomencast@gmail.com. In the meantime, please rate us and leave a review on iTunes or your podcast service of choice. Also, for all discussions moderately entertaining, you can find us at facebook.com/twomencast. Please join us again next week when we'll be guaranteed to be funny. Or not.